All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observation, and entertainment. I ask that you comment, like, share, and subscribe.
This is going to be a call-in show. Um, we're gonna put the link in the box in a few minutes, but right now I'm just trying to get everything started. I have little technical difficulties, but I'll get by it. One of the things I want everybody to know that this show is live, it's unrehearsed, and we're just gonna make it as we go. Um, let's talk about Black love and is it dead? Um, what is Black love? If you haven't heard me in another show that I was in regarding relationships, tantalizing talk for you, there are three types of love that is commonly understood throughout the world. There is eros love, or the sexual carnal type of love. There's the philos love, meaning brotherly love. That's where the root word from the city Philadelphia, meaning city, brotherly, and city. So that's why they call it the city of brotherly love. And the original Philadelphia is in Greco-Turkish area right now, and that was it was brought in the Bible and translated into Philadelphia. And then there's one mainly religious type love, and it's called agape love. Now, agape love is different because it's unconditional, sort of like a mother has for their child most of the time. Says no matter what that child does, good, bad, indifferent, otherwise, a mother will forgive their child for most. I'm not gonna say all because I'd be lying if I said all, but for most of their stuff that's going on. So when we look at these things, we kind of look at them in a way of what kind of love do we give our partners, our relatives, our friends, and lastly, our family. Now, Black love comes, in the coming out of slavery and going into the 1900s. We went through a lot more than we did today. However, Black families were tighter. And unfortunately, one of the things that we inherited from bondage was corporal punishment. Now, everybody has a story. If you're over 30 or 40, everybody has a story when their grandmothers and grandfathers were living that they got, when you acted up, they got the strap or the switch or something. Now, my father's mother was from the South, not Virginia. She was born in Bluffton, South Carolina, in Beaufort County, and she migrated. My great grandmother migrated with her and my aunt Belle to Savannah in the early 1930s, about 31, moved from Bluffton to Savannah, where they started, they lived in Savannah, but you got to think about it. That was less than 70 years after bondage, after emancipation. And a lot of those times they got whooped. And when they had children and their children acted up, they got whooped. And then those children had children. And when those children acted up, they got whooped. And then those children had children. And it started to change in the mid 70s to the late 80s, where we realized that whooping a child just as a natural reaction was not the best way to make children understand that punishment was equal to the crime. So as we grow older, Gen X and some millennials, we decided to we was gonna keep the switch in reserve. Oh, that was never going to be taken away. However, it was only to be used in emergency. So a lot of things that we did, such as punishments, taking away stuff, was to teach our children conflict resolution and to be able to get where we needed to go with respect to how we didn't want our children to be afraid of us, not be their friends, because that's not how we do it in most of the Black community, but understanding that our children respected us and did not fear us. So saying that, um, let's talk about role models. Now, the marriage rate when we were in segregation was 70 to 80% of Black people were married. We still had alternative lifestyles. They just was hit a lot, and it would hit a lot deeper. And people still got married. People still, because the church was big, mid 20th century, and it brought us to, doing the right thing. And the right thing as far as those times. So families stayed together, good, bad, happy, or sad. And you really didn't start hearing about dad going out for a pack of cigarettes until about the late 50s, early 60s, or dad having another family. You found that out in the 70s and in the 80s. And eventually, what happened was we had the seeming, how can I put this? We had the seeming epidemic of the deadbeat dad. What what really was happening was the the dad wasn't deadbeat per se. However, there were outside factors. One being, the war on poverty, which necessitated that the father had to be out of the house. So if the father was out of one house, what did he usually do? He went to another house, made more babies. But what we're finding out in the numbers is that less than half less than half of Black men have children. It's around 54% that don't have a child. Another 17% that has one child. So almost 3 out of 4 Black men have one or less children. So you're more likely to find a Black man without a child than you do with a child. Saying that, even when the marriage rates have decreased 33% for Black men, 27% for Black women, um, it's kind of gotten to a point where we are seemingly at war with each other. The issue is not that we're at war, but we definitely don't see eye to eye these days. Um, put in the box, if you remember, in before the 1980s, when you had Claire and Cliff Huxtable, and in the 90s when you had the Winslows, when did you see a Black couple portrayed solidly? They were middle class, somewhat professional, and they were in they were portrayed in a positive light. I'm not talking about Good Times or the Jeffersons. The Jeffersons were a middle class. And they were portrayed comedically, but basically George was a buffoon. We can't get around it. He was funny as heck, but he was a buffoon, even though he had money. James Evans, they wound up killing them off. Before that, you really didn't have black love, black families portrayed in a very positive light. Now you look on TV these days and how they portraying black love. Um, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Every character, every show that has majority black cast has one LGBT character, usually male. Sometimes female. And I mean, I have LGBT members in my family. I have no issue with that, but it's just one of those things that you notice after a while. And a lot of times we don't when we don't see it, and you look on social media with the things that are going on today, men ain't crap, women ain't crap, and we're going back and forth with that on how we're talking about people aren't crap, but then we're not looking at ourselves. A lot of us don't look inward in order to feel some way about somebody else. And then we look at the way some of us are and how we are with respect to us getting that partner. The rage on these social media streets, 50-50, 50-50. 50-50 does not exist. And let me tell you why. Name one organization, one business that has two leaders. If you can put it in the box, because I don't think that's accurate. If you can name one with two leaders, I'll send you some money. That's successful. I got a I got a question in the box. What do I consider emergency when it comes to the switch? My kid setting fire to the couch. My kid um my kid doing something that endangers the family. That is nuclear. And I'm sorry, it won't be I will spank them, not beat them. Cause we got, Pearl, we got beatings. We got beatings. Make no mistake about that. We got beatings growing up. And we tried not to we had a way of not beating our kids. And that was one of those things that was tough to not do because it happened to us, but we did it. And, you know, I think most of our children have come out well. If you want to jump on, I put the link in the box. Put it on links in the box. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to super chat if you want to super chat me. Hey, show a brother some love. Hey, I'm just trying to make it just like you. My goal is to get 10,000 people before June. I'm halfway at my goal. I'm over 5,000 people. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed to me and believe in my content enough to listen to it. And it's it's interesting. It's pretty interesting. This ride has been pretty interesting. So the link is in the box. If you want to jump on, only thing I ask is that you keep it classy and you're on camera. We're talking about we're going to talk about commitment. And what is there's a thing that says that black men don't want to commit. I'm here to tell you that that's not accurate. I'm not saying that there are some black men that don't want to commit. Of course, the top 10% of men don't want to commit because they don't have to commit, but but everybody wants to get commitment from them. I'm talking about your average guy, teacher, truck driver, garbage man, the people, the glue of society. They are willing to commit to a quality woman. And what is a quality woman? A quality woman is a woman, in my opinion. I'm just saying this as my opinion. Doesn't, y'all can disagree with me or not. A quality woman has a peaceful way about her. She's not docile. She's not a pet to be petted. She has a peaceful way about her. When a woman walks in a room, you know a woman walks in the room because she changes the atmosphere. There are a bunch of rowdy guys. Guys get rowdy when we get together. And when a woman comes in the room, we straighten up. If we got a hat on, we take off our hats. That's just how it is. A woman should be feminine. And what do I mean by feminine? We talked about gender roles about a year and a half ago on Upscale Love, and there are certain things. I'm not talking cooking and cleaning because if you're an adult, you should be able to do that. What I'm talking about is presenting a softness, a gentleness, um, not helplessness, but being able to have something in you that guys just are attracted to, that masculine guys are attracted to. Understanding that women are emotional. That's that I always say women from Emotia, men are from Logicon. But that's not always true because sometimes you get with a emotional guy or you get with a logical woman, don't know what to do with them sometimes. But those are the things, and inspiration. When a man is inspired by a woman, he's going to do great things. He might even do stupid things, but he becomes more selfless when he has a woman who he really wants. He's going to be selfless, not selfish. If you got a dude that won't pee on you if you're on fire, he's not. I don't care how good he looks. He ain't the one for you. If he only calls you after 11:58, he ain't for you. So you got to look at stuff like that. Now, what I'm going to talk about, if anybody wants to come on, I'm going to talk about 10 reasons why Black men don't want to get married. This was written by Raven Sine. Hopefully, I pronounced that right. But these are reasons that came up that she had. The first reason is Black men stereotypes. Now, as you can see on there, you have Glocktavius on the left, and you have Urkel Dexter on the right. There are parts of Black men that adhere to those stereotypes. However, Black men are not a monolith. Everybody has a little something of each one of them. And a lot of guys thinking that, you got to be like Thug Grown to get a woman. And the guys that look like Urkel Dexter won't get any women because he looks corny. Now, to low quality women, that he would probably be 100% correct. So you have Urkel Dexter's perpetrating Thug Grown, but when they get the woman, when they get the woman that they think they want, guess what happens? That woman gets tired of them because they're not being who they are. And that's one thing that guys don't want to be known as a stereotype. We live in a hard world, whereas being a Black man is a hazard, and we just don't want to. We just don't want to be a stereotype. Number two, lack of positive influence. Um, a lot of times, especially with the prison industrial complex, a lot of times the fathers were not around or father figures weren't around. So who did the guys gravitated towards? The guys that got the women. Who were the guys that got the women? Mostly in lower middle to lower class. Those were the D boys. Those were the gangsters. Those were the thug groans. And if you were like me, very studious, you wasn't getting a neighborhood girl. You was getting you know, you had to go outside of your sphere of influence. But a lot of black men growing up, especially in the 70s and 80s, 70s with the H issue, that white, and the 80s with the rocks. And I don't want to be demonetized, so y'all understand what I'm saying. Um, there was not a lot of positivity. However, on TV, even during those times, you did see black married couples. And like I said, in the 80s, the Huxtables were something to aspire. It was so rare to see a positive black couple that were well off and had a bunch of kids and took care of their kids, that um, less melanated folks thought that wasn't real. But we in our family had people like that. They just wasn't depicted on TV. Um, there are positive influences, and if you're a guy and you're married or you have a steady girl, be a positive influence for that young for those younger guys. Don't let them go out there and make the same mistakes we made. Don't let them go out there and act a fool and possibly become a statistic. And I don't mean the usual ones. I'm talking more likely being a having to pay 18 to 21 years over someone that you probably may have had a child or may not be a child. But the idea is to practice discipline in your life. Focus on your purpose, and the woman you want will come to you. Let's go to number 3. Past experience shaping modern views. The big thing about that is we, as a people, like I said, if you look at the picture, you see a family sitting at the dinner table. Now, when when in the world did you see that after 1980? How many people actually sat down as a family at a specific time to have dinner, or any meal as we went along in time, and mothers and fathers had to work, we started eating more processed foods. The more processed foods we ate, we got fatter. The fatter we did, we sat our behinds in front of the TV, because black people. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I'll get you in a second. Um, we do this. Joining me, I just took a second. Joining me is my sister from the same mister, the Black Pearl. What's going on, Black Pearl? Holla at your boy.
Okay, I'm finally on.
All
I'm
right.
I'm driving home from my sewing class. And what
Oh,
was the question?
the I'm on number 3. It's past experience shaping modern views. The photo in the line in the on the screen is a black family sitting at the tables circa 1965, between 1965 and 1968. Um, I was just saying, do we have a time after the 1980s where we actually sat at the table as a family?
Um, Now are you talking about you and I
No,
family,
no, no. Just in general.
our
Just in
parents,
general.
or just in general?
Just in general.
Um, be honest with you, I had, but it was after the 80s. With me and my children, and at the time my husband, we did sit at the table every night, because I felt that was a time that I got to see what was going on with the family. There's no interruptions of video games or TVs and stuff like that. So you got to really embrace your children at that time.
But
Excuse
you
me.
didn't let your kids play video games a lot, if I
No,
remember.
I did. Yeah, I did. And they had a certain amount of time they had to play. Well, one of the main reasons why that they didn't play as much because my husband was at the time my husband was a video game connoisseur, and at a certain time it was his turn to play without anybody being there. So yeah, they had a certain time that they had to be off of the game and they had to finish their homework. So yeah, so I had a structure in the home at one point. But you're right, there are a lot of homes that did not do that. The kids ate in their rooms, or um, one ate in the kitchen. Some children ate standing up because they were so busy trying to get somewhere else after eating, type thing. So the structure of in the 80s wasn't as structured as it was before that time, where you actually had to sit at the table. Now I remember when we were growing up, even though our parents didn't sit at the table with us, they still made us sit at the table.
I remember that very well.
Yeah, they still made us sit at the table. Um, and like I said, they may not have sat there with us, and it could have been because it was not enough chairs.
That's true. That's true.
So, but we had to sit at the table. It wasn't eating, and we didn't eat. I don't ever recall eating in my room.
No, of course we couldn't eat in our room. We didn't have enough
Yeah,
room to eat in the room. But
well,
that's
that too, but
another
I
story.
never remember sitting, taking my food anywhere past the dining room area. If we had a party and stuff like that, of course, you had snacks on the coffee table, but if you was eating, you was either eating in that kitchen or you was eating at the table. And the kitchen was too small for us to eat in anyway. But,
Yeah,
that's what we did. But I do see, and then now even today, there are still families are not eating together anymore.
right. And also with 69% of women having children before they have a husband. Guys are afraid to get married because they don't want to take on the responsibility of somebody else's children.
Child, right, right.
And that, I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, um, most guys want to have their own children with their own woman, and especially late 80s to now, that's getting those chances are getting smaller and smaller. So
Yeah,
they're letting their views are shaped by what they see, and then they are looking at it now like, man, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to accept this responsibility because it's not mine to begin with. Instead of saying, hey, I love this woman, I'm gonna love her and her kids. And as that's what's shaping their views to not go as much to get married.
right, right. But you know what? Nowadays, it's also the women. There are a lot of women who are not having children as early as um, before, where there was a lot of children. A lot of women having children at a younger age. So with this new generation that's going on and the way of people thinking, because they don't have any children, they don't want to be with a man who has children already,
Right, right. And
because
a
they
lot.
don't want to take on that responsibility. I am one. Even though I have children, I have adult children, but I noticed that there are a lot of men out here who are in their late 40s um, to the mid 50s who still have elementary school age children.
I think that's
And
crazy.
it is crazy. And I thought it was like, maybe a couple here, a couple there, but I'm noticing that there are a lot of these men out here who are having a second life crisis or whatever, and they have grown children, and then they turn around and they have their oops babies, and then sometimes it's not just one oops baby, it's a couple of oops babies, as they would call it. Um, and then you in your late 50s or your mid 50s going to 60s, and you have a 4 or 5 year old. Come on, really?
Yeah.
And you still seeking companionship from someone else who's already possibly already raised their children or didn't have any children at all, but then you trying to turn around and find love again. No, sit your tail down somewhere and take care of them children. Well, I ain't got time. I don't want, my thing is this, I don't want to date someone at this age that I'm at. Proud to say I'm 54, about to turn 55 in a couple of months. I am proud to say that I have no small children. I have nothing but grandchildren. And with my grandchildren, I can give them back.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so I don't want to deal with someone who has smaller children, because the time that you're spending with me, you could have been spending bonding with your child.
Right. I agree. I agree.
So don't come my way talking about, oh, baby, baby, baby. No, you need to go home to your baby, because your baby needs to be taken care of. And my thing is this, the money that you supposedly gonna be spending on me to please me and to make me happy is the money you could have been using to spend on your children, who are still needs that money for the school age that they are, because they're still growing, they still eat a lot, they still need taken care of, they still need tending to. You can't do that when you're with me.
Well, that's true. However, most of those guys and gals, because some of them be having babies, be 48, be having a baby. I'm like, but most of the times those people take into account, hey, I'm going to still have my fun. I'll do my financial part, but I'm not going to do much more, as far as much more than I have to. Not the right answer, but they should have thought that and had discipline on their pickle. Move,
Right.
moving on. Number 4, goals and ambitions. Um, when brothers start chasing that bag, and if they're really on their purpose, especially if you're a professional, you're not gonna really start making money until you're in your mid-30s. If you MD or a lawyer, if you start at 18, freshman in college, the earliest that you'll be able to be free of loans and things like that is about 33. So 33, you did 4 years of undergrad, that's 22. You do 4 years of post grad, that's 26. Doctors do another 3 years for residency, so that's 29 for doctors. Lawyers got to pass the bar and find a job. That's 20, that's 27, 28 for a lawyer. And then what? So you paying loans back for 3 or 4 years. Okay. A doctor's 33, 34, 35. Uh, a lawyer's about 31, 32 before they could actually start making actual money. Those are the things that a lot of people don't realize. And if a guy's chasing that bag and he's on his purpose, he has to realize that a woman has to realize that he's not going to be ready until he feels he's ready. And if he wants being married and having that responsibility before you're sets up a lot of people for failure. If a woman's willing to wait, she will be rewarded with that, with what most women want these days, that soft life. But getting there is the hardest part, and he needs a support, and maybe not a burden, because those guys that go to school, professional business people, they're not going to get they're in the office 80 hours a week. They're putting in that time. They're not going to have time. They maybe have a day or a half a day where they're not really doing anything, and then they're prepared for the next 80-hour work week. So as much as people like attention, if you want the top 10% of men that have those type of jobs and have those type of professions, you got to have the patience of Job, or else you're not gonna, you're gonna get mad and be sleeping with the gardener to get your back blown out, while you know Urkel Dexter is out there slaving away at trying to get that bag. What do you think about that? Pearl?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But a lot of people don't put that into perspective or a factor
Yeah.
because of the way the society is set up right now. Um, they don't care to wait for anything anymore. In a
Right.
sense, now you have a lot of people who are trying to bypass the easy way of doing things. Um, and they can't wait for that stability. They want. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of women who just want the factor of getting married, and so they don't care if that man is ready or not.
Yes. Yes.
They don't
Um,
care if that man is trying to establish himself and be stable before he decides that he wants to build a family with anyone. But
well, the wedding's for the woman anyway. The guy just has
yeah,
to be there, but a lot of women want the wedding, but they don't necessarily want to be wives. There's a difference.
correct, correct. I was going to say that they just want the fact that you're getting to spend that money. I noticed that um, I used to officiate weddings as well as coordinate and decorate and all that other good stuff. Um, and I noticed in that I was doing things that a lot of these women did not stay married or these couples didn't stay married very long because the only thing that they were into was showing the Joneses what they have and what they just caught, but they're not
None
there
of
for
304s.
stability. They're not there for the true love. They're just there for the show, and they don't stay married long. I'm gonna
Yep.
use a celebrity for example, Portia Williams and her African husband. Now they are estranged because of I guess some situations, but I realized that they were probably dating a couple of months before he proposed and wanted to get married. And here it is. Now you get married because you think this man is established and he has all his money because you've seen him, hang around the right crowd. They hang around the right crowds and don't have a dime to their name because they leeching off of other people. But they do it so well that you don't even realize that that's what they're doing. Um,
Right.
so she gets married to this man, and they have this lavish wedding. They actually get 5 dresses, 2 ceremonies, and one was I think either both of them was in Africa, or one was in Africa, and one was in America, and they spent all this money, and she's doing
No,
all this, and he's doing all that. And
He
come to
spent
find
all
out,
that money.
even know they didn't sit down to learn enough about each other before they sat down and got married. For the simple fact that, okay, I remember back in the day, we used to think about um, the credit scores.
Right.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Hello?
I'm here.
I'm sorry, my headphones must have went out. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can definitely hear you. Keep going.
Hello?
I'm here. You can't I can hear you, Chocolate Pearl. I can hear you. Oh, your mic went out. Drop off and drop back in.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. You're good to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. What part did I miss? Because I was getting into that conversation.
You were saying they had gotten married. She had 5 dresses, 2 ceremonies in Africa. And
And
they go
now,
ahead.
now that they've divorced because they didn't take the time to learn each other. They didn't take the time to. Okay, back in the day, we used to your credit score had to be a certain amount before we even considered being with you. Type thing.
Right. But
You have to. I had to really see really were or really are before I even wanted to get married. Um,
I
they
understand
don't do
that.
that anymore. They just see whoever's showboating and are you survive. You are surviving off. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of hustlers can, excuse me, can make it look good
Oh no,
without
yeah.
having anything.
Oh no, I agree. The issue is that not that they got married in a whirlwind court, big wedding, is the fact that is she actually a wife? I know she was on Real Housewives and she was married when she got on there to Cordell Stewart, who was a subject of a nasty rumor. Um, but was she actually a wife? She's very good looking. She keeps herself in shape, but she wanted princess treatment. And first she left Cordell because he said he was controlling. And then she got with this African guy, and the African guy was probably like, who left the girl he was going to marry to get with her. And he was, found out that it wasn't all roses and what all wasn't roses and cream. And Apple put in there, Cynthia Bailey did the same thing twice. Yeah, but Peter was kind of how can I put this? He had bum tendencies, but that's another story for another day. But he did have ambition, but I think his reach wasn't at the level of his ambition. But a lot of guys, when they're on their grind, trying to get to where they want, a lot of time they feel if they get married, um, a wife is going to hold them back because women require maintenance, and I don't mean just an occasional shot of penis. Let me go number 5. Financial responsibility. I know you can talk about that, Chocolate Pearl. You can talk about your marriage and financial responsibility.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I can really talk to you about that. Um, where how you know how they say that you need to be equally yoked in your marriage and in your relationship.
Yes.
Um, Financially, I don't think I was equally yoked. I felt that I took the brunt of all of the financial responsibilities. And I'm not sure, as I think back, I'm not sure if it's because I am an alpha woman. I think that I had, and the way I was raised, daddy always taught us how to hustle. Daddy always taught us how to, make a dollar out of 15 cents, type things. And when things go wrong, you don't sit there and mope about it. You do something about it. Unfortunately, I didn't marry a man that was like that or had those morals or had that knowledge to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
As a man,
that's true. A lot of times with that is that men that are, you know, we all have some men that are savers. We have some men that are spenders. As a
right,
man, if you're a saver, you kind of want to look at your woman and be like, if she look at her spending habits because you don't want to save money just for her to spend it.
right,
Vice versa, if you a spender, you want to find a woman that's a saver because that's more money for you to spend.
right.
And
But he was neither. He was neither or. He was either or. I mean, he was not. He was neither because of the fact that um, not necessarily did he spend, but he didn't know how to save either. This is a man who had a checking account, had a savings account, but every time he got paid, he withdrew every dime he had and went to each creditor and paid them cash. That's
well,
what he was. That's how he.
that's probably how he was raised.
Yeah, that's how he was raised. Still to
And
this day, his mother does the same thing. She goes, she gets her Social Security, she goes to
yeah,
the bank, takes all her money out, and pays her bills. She doesn't keep any money in their banking account, and
well,
they live check to check.
yep. That's 90% of America these days anyway. Check the check is probably the way it's going to be for a very long while until we redo the set the system, the system.
Right.
Redo the system, the key.
But the thing about it, when you, and I think we talked about this before, when you're in a society or when you're being raised by your parents who don't know any better, they can't teach you any more better. You have to have an open mind of learning things. You have to have an open mind of wanting to do better. When
Yes.
you when you when you are constantly living check to check, it doesn't allow you to um, think outside the box when it comes to finances and stability. I have a lot of friends who right now are homeless at this particular point. Have a job, but
But if you
they live way above their means
and that
because
goes back to number 4 though. If you don't have goals and you lack ambition, guess what? You're going to be financially irresponsible.
right, right. But that's like you said, that is, I want to say a good 75% of the I want to say the world, but I only can speak about United States, but of the United States, that we do not know how to save. We do not know what savings really means. But for some apparent reason, um, a couple of our with I don't know how to say if it's a Gen X or millenniums or whoever, who is the age that my children are.
They're millennials.
Let's say millennials. They're starting to think a little different. For instance, we'll use my son here in Florida, who is 32 years old, right? Yeah, I think he's 32.
He'll be 32.
Okay, thank you. That'll be 32 years old. And because he decided to stop and listen to his seniors about finances and how to become successful, and he has my drive to succeed and to make things happen. He was fortunate enough to have a business and build a 5-bedroom home before he was 30. And all because of our aunt Tam told him her motto is spend a little, save a lot. Meaning that you need to save what you're making, because if you save and not spend, you get to save.
Well,
you know,
that's true. That's
and
true.
so
She
he
always
was
said I
able
was
to,
cheap.
huh?
She always said I was cheap.
But I wish she would have told me that when she was raising me. That was
She
a
did.
knowledge that she gave me.
You didn't listen as much. You like nice stuff.
Well, I think I don't recall her telling me that, so that's a good thing. You see, I didn't pay attention to her, but thank God my children did. I'm listening to her now, where I actually am trying to save, and that's what's probably keeping me afloat about the deplenish, but keeping me afloat when I don't have a job. You should always try to save at least 3 months rent in your banking account, just in case something happens, and stuff like that. I wish I would have taken heed when I was in my marriage and raising my children. I wouldn't have had to work two or three jobs and have a couple of hustles on the side. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if I would have taken the time to not spend, and just bought what I needed and not what I necessarily wanted, maybe life would have been a little bit easier for me. So I thank goodness that the millennials now, because as well as my oldest son, he's doing the same thing, where he is, he finally got he got a house built, and he's in his 30s. You don't see that anymore. people don't get to the where they are until they pass their 40s.
Right, but that's because of whole just how the system's set up now. Like I said, and it'll be this for the foreseeable future until we get to a point where we get tired of being a little uneducated, we get tired of being a little sick, and we tired of being a little broke.
Right.
But that's a whole different. If I do a political show, I'll do that. Let's move on, sis. Number 6, men are scared of divorce. What's the biggest cause for divorce?
Financial.
No,
Money.
marriage.
Marriage.
you
Okay,
can't.
please break that down.
It took you a second to get what I was saying, but a lot of times, guys are scared that they'll make this investment and invest in this woman, invest in this family. She'll get a wild hair of her butt or get tired and be like, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, everything else is going along with it. We a lot of times, they're talking about, I'm not a gold digger because you ain't got no gold to dig. But what they don't realize is that guys do pay attention to what, it goes back to spending and saving, and how we saving enough money to be where we are and to do what we need to do. But a lot of us don't want to hear that. And we have to dial it back and be smart about how we're going to go forth and do great things. So getting married these days is a risk for both, but mainly for the man, especially if he becomes a father and has children. His money is their money, her money is her money. But that's a chance. But a lot of guys are scared of divorce.
So that's why they don't get married, or that's why they don't
that's
get
why
divorced?
that's why they don't want to get married, because they don't want to go through a divorce. And like I said, it's not perfect, but we're trying to, a lot of people today are trying to get Black men and women on the same page so they're not divorcing, and you're getting who's for you as opposed to who you want. Because one of my day ones, my man Corky, he said when he got his second marriage, he said something that I keep to this day. She's not only good to me, she is good for me. And that was profound. That was profound, because you can be good to somebody and they still do you dirty.
Oh yeah.
But if they're good for you, they're going to make sure that when they move up, you move up.
You move up, right?
If you fall, they'll be there to catch you. Good for you. Making sure that we're doing this together, teamwork. We say teamwork makes the dream work, but a lot of times one of us is wide awake because we ain't dreaming.
That's true. That is true.
The number 7 is different ways of love. In today's society, I talked about love languages a couple of weeks ago, and visualization and manifestation, and realizing that we all get love and we all accept love differently. So, you can't help how a person professes their love. You can, however, accept what they have. And if it's good enough for you, you need to appreciate the fact that they do love you. They may not love you in the perfect way that you might want to be loved, but if they're good to you and good for you, you need to stay with them because they're loving you the best way they know how.
Right.
A lot of us are unhealed when it comes to that, and then we're loving people the way we think we're loving people, selfishly instead of selflessly. because what can we get out of it? How much we can get out of it without having to put a lot into
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
And
But
that's what.
that's being the I, and that's putting
Yeah.
the I in team.
Yep.
They automatically put an I in team, and that's not how you spell it.
Yep. Or there's no I in us, but there is you. Oh gosh, don't let me stop with the corny jokes. Emotional readiness. This is one of the biggest things that men have dealing with emotions, because we weren't taught, especially people from my generation, Gen X and earlier, we weren't taught how to sufficiently deal with our emotions. We did not
Right.
we did not process. We were only allowed to be angry or be happy.
Right.
Everything else was put it in a box and stuff it away. So you don't know if
Right. Suck it up.
yeah, you don't know when people talk about things like that. Um, People talking about women's talking points. He's a narcissist. He doesn't have emotional intelligence. Well, a lot of in these days, a lot of women don't know how to process their emotions healthily. Um, have healthy expression of their emotions, because we have to be gratified now, that if you don't cater to my emotions, I'm going to be upset at you.
Uh-huh.
And we think our partner is there to placate us and to make sure that we don't feel any negative emotions, which is impossible. So
Right.
if you look at the well, I don't know if you're home yet, but
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the
I made it
screen
home.
you have four different pictures. The first one to your upper left is differing facial expressions dealing with emotions. The second one is just the emojis of emotions. The third one, the bottom right, is difference between valence and arousal. You go from the bottom right is extremely angry to the upmost up
I
top
don't
right.
see it. Hold on.
Uh, it's on the
Oh no,
slide.
I had it on. I didn't have it on the slide. Okay, there we go.
Okay. And the upper right, you have extremely joyful, and then if you look to your left, it's like I am really feeling it. I want to do a couple of things, some carnal stuff, if possible. And then you have from the what was that movie with the emotions
Mm-mm.
inside me or something like that. Whatever. Yeah, you got that. But women think that men are not emotionally ready. Men, especially if they were raised around a lot of women, learn
Think
how
that
to
women
cope.
are too emotional.
Yeah, but they learn how to cope with emotions. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of a lot of those men, a lot of those men know how to deal with emotions. But what I remember I told Justin when he graduated, I said, um, if you deal with emotional women and you know how to deal with them, they don't like that, because they're
Right.
thinking you're trying to you're being condescending. How do you know you act like you know me? I do know you. How do you know that? I don't know you, like you don't know me like that. But if you know how to deal with people, you deal with people how you know how. Number 9, fear of rejection. Now, everybody in life has gotten rejected at something. Whether it was a job interview, whether it was getting an F in a class in school, whether it was, do you like the yes or no? Do you like me? No. Inside out, that was it. Um, Everybody's gotten rejected. This how you deal with rejection is how is showing. It goes back to the last one, emotional readiness. Is how you deal with rejection. The talking point for a lot of feminists is that they are afraid to say no to men because they're afraid that men would get angry and delete it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the issue is that's not although that is a possibility, it's not a probability because a lot of men are not approaching women like that.
Right.
You know, you can't complain that the men ain't there if the men are not coming. And then when they do come, you're like, I'm afraid for my life because they might go off if I reject them. But women take rejection a lot harder than men because you're not used to being rejected unless you're going
Right.
way unless you're going way out your league. And guys have
Right.
to guys and guys who are in the top 10, 20, 30% of men will they have to reject you kindly because there's nothing worse than somebody doing a me too and ruining your reputation because they didn't like the way you said no. Now guys take women a little harsher with their rejections if they're not fearful.
Right.
Because I remember I got no, 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 no. What made you think you could talk to me? I got that. I got that a few times. But, I didn't get angry. I was upset, but I wasn't angry. I wasn't trying to hurt nobody. But that's another thing. And one thing, and this is with most men, men are afraid to change. We take chances, but we marry y'all with the expectation you're not going to change. Y'all get with us with the expectation that we will change. Y'all want to put something on us that no other woman has, and that's kind of why we miss each other.
Right.
But men don't want their women to change. If he met you at 110 pounds, he wants you to be about 120 pounds at the most.
Mm-hmm.
If he met you and you ain't, and you had no kids, well, he wants to change that if he wants a legacy.
Right.
But if you was freaking him off before y'all got married, he wants you to stay that freak to him, not to everybody else, to him.
Mm-hmm.
So men look at it as if I now here's a scenario. You probably disagree. He said, you probably disagree, but a lot of guys they say that when women say that I do and they get that security and ring, they change it. They change it right up. I was getting it from the ceiling, hanging off chandeliers. She said I do, and then all that went away. She's like, I'm sick. I got a headache again. This is the first time. I mean, didn't we do it last year? Stuff like that, and then it's like, why did you change? But that's what guys are afraid of, giving, bringing someone together for life, and then they go change. They gain 800 pounds, don't want to work, don't want to clean, don't want to take care of the kids. They say, I got mine. It goes back to being a bride, but not a wife. Miss Nikki was saying men just ghost women instead of telling the women they are done.
Yes.
Babe, everybody ghosts everybody.
Yeah.
You have women ghost, men ghost. It's just a part of life. And as you get older, hopefully you have more sense to at least say something. I'm kind of bad at that. I'm not gonna sit up here and hold you to that. I will ghost somebody in a heartbeat. I ghost family members. And Dr. Pearl can attest to that. She done cursed me out
Yes.
on more than one occasion for
And you're
going
not allowed
ghost.
to do that ever again. Ever.
So I understand. And that's in part of my
I mean,
growth.
but my thing is this: is to be people claim that they're adults. Adults are supposed to do responsible things.
Adult things.
Unfortunately, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, We have people who claim to be adults but still act like they're children. Now, when it comes down to ghosting, Nikki, you're right. Men tend to ghost. What it is that they don't want to deal with conflict because if they decided they don't want to be with you anymore and they tell you, they have to deal with conflict. They don't want to deal with conflict. They want to just ease away. So that's why they decide to say, okay, I'm just not going to call them. I'm going to block her. Or I'm not going to answer her calls or whatever. Women, on the other hand, we feel that we need closure at all times. I don't care if it's our fault. I don't care if you don't care about me anymore. I don't care, whatever reason of why you decide you don't want to be with me anymore. We need closure. Now, whether that closure is going to come with conflict or not, at the end of the day, we need closure. But now there are a lot of people like me. I don't necessarily ghost you. I just don't call. But if you happen to call me, I will answer and tell you, kick rocks. But if you don't call me, we just ghosted each other in a sense. You didn't call me and I ain't call you to see why you didn't call me. That's how some games work. But at the end of the day, men do not like conflict, so that's why they tend to ghost women. And women need closure, and that's why they're upset because the guy did not contact them and tell them that, oh, I don't want to be with you anymore for whatever reason.
That's very well put together. As a guy, we don't want to. A lot of times, it's not the confrontation that we're scared of. It's more of the aftermath and dealing. Because if a woman, once y'all pissed off, it's like dropping gasoline in a gallon of, in a campfire and expecting it to go out. Yeah. I always say y'all invented CSI, and the FBI has nothing on a woman.
No.
However, sometimes your need for revenge pulls y'all into a different realm. That's kind of scary. That's kind of.
It is, but revenge only comes when you do not give the proper closure. That's all that is. It's proper closure.
Yeah, I guess I can live that. I can live with that. But we are coming close to the end of the show, and I'm going to stop sharing. And now we're back. I'm going to switch cameras now because I had my laptop. My laptop died on me, so I had
So did mine.
I had to use my tablet and my phone to do this. It was a little more challenging, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Is there a button somebody's pressing? Because mine's went out as well. Right
I
in the
don't
middle
know.
of me trying to create my labels for my product. And by the way, I did really good a couple of weeks ago.
And what were you supposed to give to me?
Hey, I'm working on that. I'm
Okay,
seriously working on that.
I can't sponsor you if you're not giving me
I
something.
am. I got you. I got you. Give me some time. I don't want to send it sloppy, but my computer failed on me.
All right, I got you. I
And
got
I got somebody looking at it. They actually got it because it would not turn on at all.
same with
I
mine.
had it charged and all that other stuff. For some reason, he must have touched it and it turned on, and I was shocked. But as long as he got it working, I'm happy. So I'll be
Hey,
back on track again soon,
that's
and I'll
what's up.
get you your stuff.
That's what's up. Yeah, I was telling, when we were in New York, I was telling our cousins that, hey, I said, I'm trying to blow this thing up, and I'm taking chocolate pearl and apple with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm getting it out there. So for the ones who still want to buy my body butter, it's doing very well. My one of the scents that I actually sold out of is the Jamaican fruit, and I'm getting ready to make
put your
another
put your
batch.
put your contact information in the box.
Okay.
That way they can, that way the audience can hit you up, and I'll make I can, once you give me that stuff, I'm gonna put together a commercial for you, and during my live, I'll broadcast that.
Okay. I will do that.
And if y'all want, please don't forget to like, share, comment. I need comments. It increases the algorithm. Like I said, my goal is 10,000 before the end of June. Chocolate Pearl's birthday's in June, so that'll be a good present for her and for me. I want y'all to. You got anything to say before we cut out?
No, this is always a good talk, and I love the fact that I'm able to get on. And I hate that in a sense, I hate when I'm trying to get on as soon as I finish my sewing class. But the sewing class went very well. A lot of my beginners actually made a garment, so I'm just proud of that. Look out for me for a commercial that will be made to go onto the site to promote my body butter, bath salts, and candles. I'm also going to do a body and air spray as well. So I'm trying to build that up. The Real Golden Girls Creations, named after my sisters. And thanks for everything in
If y'all,
advance.
if she kind of put it in the wrong place, but what I'll do is, y'all can email me at dlight7@gmail.com. If y'all want me to get in contact with her and have an order, y'all can send it through me. I will get it to her. Make sure you have your mailing address, and we can get you a price list. We're gonna, support Black businesses, and it's Women's Month too. Let me not forget.
Mm.
So all you ladies out there, this is for you. A man like me is going to say these rhymes and keep these times, so I won't have to go and commit crime. Y'all be good. Before we go, I'm just gonna say thank y'all for liking, sharing, commenting. Every Tuesday night, you never know what you're gonna get. I think this was a good show, a good topic to cover. I'm gonna thank everybody for being here, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Thursday nights, I'm on. You can check my Facebook page. I'm on Upscale Love for You. I'm one of the team. We're gonna be talking about why people leave their cultures to go find a wife or a husband, and that's going to be an interesting one. It's got to go do with passport bros and passport sisters. So y'all come on over. Check my page. The Zoom room is in my page. Just be there for the smoke and the praise and everything else that comes with it. And your boy truly, yours truly. So, like I always say before I leave, never make love by the garden gate. Though love is blind, the neighbors ain't. Y'all have a wonderful time, and thank each and every one of y'all for coming on.
Thanks for watching. This is the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, smooth as a Rolls Royce, saying, never make love by the garden gate. Though love is blind, the neighbors ain't.